Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you all had an excellent break. I wanted to go over some things that we would be covering during the third quarter and also some changes in how class is going to play out. Follow along with me. You don't have to take notes or anything, but pay close attention because I might have a few questions for you afterwards. Like I said, I hope your break was awesome. I want to cover what we're going to be learning in class first. Our first unit that we're going to start on immediately is on argumentative writing. Now, you may remember we worked on short stories a little bit before the break. We're going to stop where we were learning with that and move on. We'll come back to some of the things we covered in that unit during our unit on our second novel study. Unit 5 is going to be on argumentative writing, and during that, students will focus on learning the different parts of writing an argumentative essay. It usually ends up being a pretty fun unit. We're going to go through it really quick. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Unit 6 is on research and informative writing, and this is something a lot of you all are probably already pretty good at. During this unit, students will work on learning the basics of research and using their research in their writing. Finally, we'll cap off this quarter by beginning our second novel study of the school year, where we'll continue learning some of those things involving literary elements that we started learning during our first novel study. Students are also going to continue working on vocabulary words and their own independent reading skills both in class and at home. You all collectively did pretty awesome on both of those, and I expect that the same is going to happen during the third quarter. Let's look at some small changes that we're going to have in class for the second half of the school year. I'll be giving you a weekly plan paper to take home with you basically each week. I may give you a few at once. I'm kind of working out how it's going to work out, but it's going to help you keep up with assignments. I'll basically list out the same thing that I would list out on the board each day. You'll see a list of the assignments we're going to do in class. If it's highlighted in yellow, then that's something that I'm going to take a grade on. You'll see that Monday, January 6, 2020 has two things in yellow, and that's going to be us starting our vocabulary list. You'll notice the practice is on there, but we're also going to do some practice with spelling. There's an individual section on spelling on vocabulary.com that some of y'all have used to practice just to help you for tests. We're going to do this in class also for a grade. Now, these two assignments in particular, when they're vocabulary, they're not due immediately. That's going to be due at the end of the week, but I wanted to go ahead and put it on there so you could help keep track of it. There's also going to be a section for homework each day. Of course, we have 30 minutes of AR reading homework each weeknight, and that's not changed from the beginning of the school year, and that won't change for all of 7th and 8th grade as well. However, below that, there's some space for you to put any additional homework you might have. For example, you might realize, oh, I need to finish the vocabulary practice. You could write it down there. This is just kind of an alternate thing for you to use if you'd like, instead of the agenda, if you don't like trying to write everything in those little bitty boxes. Of course, note that plans change all the time. If I pass out one of these in class and we're not doing it that day because we don't have time, you can just put a line through it. I'll add it on another day. There'll always be space for you to write things in. There might be some weeks where I don't even pass these out at all because we're doing a whole lot of other things, and we have testing that week, or we have several trips out of the classroom or something. Don't let it bug you too much. Let's look at homework. Remember that in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, like I just said a minute ago, 30 minutes each night after school. One thing that I noticed students having some problems with during the first and second quarter was they might check out a book and then discover that it doesn't have an AR test, or they may check out a book and not like that book. Try to get that sorted out while you're in the library each day. When we leave the library with our 2 books, that really needs to be the only trip we have to the library unless we actually finish reading both of those books and we've taken tests on them and we're good to go. Basically, what I'm trying to say is make sure that you keep up with your reading time and you get all your stuff sorted out before we get out of the library. We're also going to work on our class sign-outs a little bit differently. For the first and second quarter, I'd typically either tell you to just leave the class if you needed to go to the restroom, or I'd sign your agenda or give you a note if you were going to the library or something. We're going to do it a little bit differently. I've set up a computer in the class where you're going to be able to click and select your name and then select what reason you're leaving the class. And the reason that I'm doing this is just so that some students who have had to leave the class over and over and over for various reasons don't have the opportunity to do that anymore. This doesn't apply to too many students, but you shouldn't be leaving the class 3 to 4 times a week. That ends up with you missing 30 to 40 minutes of my class for basically no reason whatsoever. If you've got to go to the restroom, try to go during the break. Try not to forget to bring things to my class in the first place, and you'll be good. Let's look at technology real quick. Overall, and not exaggerating, you guys did awesome with technology during the first and second quarter. We had very few problems. We still temporarily lost 2 computers due to accidents, and I really don't want that to happen to anybody during the second half of the school year because it can be kind of a stressful headache for everybody. First off, never use another student's computer. If you're assigned computer number 1, make sure you use computer number 1 each day of the week. If number 1 is down for repairs for some reason, you'll be assigned an alternate computer. If you get to your desk and computer number 3 is there and it's supposed to be computer number 1, stop what you're doing, don't log in, always check to make sure you're using the correct computer. Always sign out of all accounts. Completely sign out of Google Classroom. Shut down the computer completely if you are unsure if you are signed out of everything. You don't want to give another student the opportunity to get into your account and mess stuff up. Always sign out, and this is a good rule to live by anytime you're using a public computer for the rest of your life. Only navigate to websites you're directed to go to by a teacher. Students opening things like music on YouTube will be given a referral to the office. This didn't happen a whole lot during the first and second quarter, but it's something that we have to hammer down on, particularly because some of the later grades have had a lot of issues with it. If I tell you specifically that you can go to a website like NitroType that's beneficial and useful for something like learning typing, that's cool. But most days I'm not going to give you permission to do that because any downtime you could possibly have in my class should be spent reading your AR book and keeping up with your AR reading. Sometimes I might say that it's okay to get on vocabulary.com like days before we take a test, and that's totally cool as well. We don't really have a lot of downtime in my class period because anytime where you get done with a lesson before your peers, you should have a book open and out reading in front of you. That's just the nature of language arts, and it probably will be for both 7th and 8th grades as well. Let's talk about school supplies real quick. Overall, we did pretty decent with this, but there's been a lot of complaints from the custodians and from other teachers about pencils and paper and stuff just being left everywhere. Basically, try to keep up with your stuff better if you realize that you might have struggled with that a little bit during the first and second quarter. Come to class prepared each day. I shouldn't have to send anybody to their locker to go get books and binders and things like that. That's why we have time between classes. If you're asked to bring your AR book to a class like mine, bring it every single day. Some teachers may not be as strict about this one. You know, you may be able to show up with just a pencil and be okay. But in my class, I really want you to have that pencil, AR book, your notebook and binder, and your agenda each day. If you've not got those things, get them before you come to my room. I've given out a ton of pencils this year, and it's kind of bad when the custodians complain about picking up 100 pencils in the hallway for the 6th grade hallway a day. Take care of yours. I know they're worth like 5 cents, but it adds up. Buy a couple packs of them if you've run out, throw them in your locker, and be done with them for the school year. You'll just be able to pick them up anytime you need them. I want to make this an awesome third quarter. You guys did an excellent job during the first and second one. Let's get started.